I'm JJ, and this is gonna be Pride. It's a flower pretty much from the Lynx Lily base, I guess. This is the same base I used for Lynx Lily, which I have uploaded at the same time as this one. Anyways, so yeah, it's the squash, and then yeah. So first I'm gonna bring these back up, bring these up like with the Lynx Lily. Yeah. So that I can make the ascension easier of the petal. You know, when you bring up the petal, when I bring up the petal, it's like that. So for this one, it's kind of a mix of a Royal Plus and reverse squared flowers. Reverse squared is already up. Royal Plus is not really up, but it's so simple. I guess you could get it from this. It would use a normal kite base rather than this one, but it follows the same thing. You bring it up, and then you have so it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be the bottom. It's gonna be the petal. So what it's gonna do, it's like a little fan type. So what we're having is this straight spot rather than this spot, which would be normal Royal Plus. So we're bringing up where this angle happens. We're bringing up to the center, and you might realize that this is not going to come out this perfect as what I previously made and put up on Instagram, because well, it takes some deal of effort to make it all even and all perfect all around, because this fan thing, we're gonna do that for every petal, and as you can see, it's very little paper between, so it might come out pretty wonky. So what we're doing is, first we're folding it up to have it, and then we're bringing it up to the level of the original fold down, like so. And to keep this same level, we're gonna use this as a reference now. We'll bring the whole thing down and bring it up to a point where that exactly meets the same, like so, and then bring it down as well. And we're doing this for all four of them, ending up with a triangular kind of base. So at the last two, it's going to be a little more difficult, because as you can see, the top pulls a little less paper, because it kind of all works together in where it's all nexus, whatever. And yeah, so keeping them even is not that easy, but it takes some time, I guess. And as you can see, mine is gonna be a little wonky, but it's only nice. Oh, like this one's gonna be awful, because the last petal kind of has the least amount to pull, and then uneven on top and on the bottom, whatever. Anyways, I'll do my best with it, and then you can practice yourself to get it even. Anyways, so yeah, you can see it's a little uneven here, a little uneven here. That's all gonna show up, because this thing is pretty much the whole frontal part of it, which is gonna be on the outside. So what we arrive at is this kind of a thing with these fans as such, and then yeah. So what we're gonna do now is, like with the Lynx Lily, we're gonna give it a little space. Actually no, before this, I don't want to start that, because we're gonna sync these like Royal Plus. What we're gonna do is take this edge, outside edge, and we're gonna align it to the top edge, like so. It's got like a reverse. And there's two layers to this reverse, because there's this one layer that's thin, and then there's that thicker layer. You get both of them layers. So you get like pretty much like a squash of a sort, but it's not really a squash, it's a reverse. And we do that for all 8 of them. And yes, there's 8. And try to align it perfectly flat, because that's gonna kind of depend on, yeah, how it looks. As you can see, it's a little crooked, it's not exactly perfect. It happens like that if I rush it but you know, that's just a tutorial kind of thing. If you do a tutorial, don't expect it to be perfect unless you take way too long. Alright, so doing all 8 of them to that line, top edge, which is gonna make it like a tabletop or something. Look cool as a tabletop. So, that's the best I can do really right now. So that is a nice structure in itself. That's kind of the the Royal Plus, but it works with a different one. I mean, it starts with a kite base rather than this one. So this, like the Link's Lee, we're gonna give a little space, like a ½ centimeter, ¼ inch, something like that, and we're gonna inverse it. And where the top edge usually was to the top thing here. Yeah, we'll do the same. So bring that up edge to the tips of the visible thing, like so. So as you can see, the top is gonna be kind of the most visible part because these petals are just flourish pretty much. So flipping it up like like a reverse squared, pretty much, or like Link's Lily. And at the end, we're gonna have this sort of thing where it's putting forward the circle of spikies. So here comes the most difficult part because, well, as you can see in the model on Instagram, all these little spikies are going to be curled. So for the time being, those things that you reversed, bring them back down. That was just pre-folding pretty much, so that they don't get in the way. So when you have this, you're going to be curling these out, which is going to be a painstaking process because there's 8 of them, and they're very, very tiny, and they're going to keep slipping out of your rolling, unless you roll with something smaller, of course. But there's just not a lot of space to roll with. Like when you get to that, like there's really nothing to grab there. But you know, you don't need much of a curl there, just a little bit. And you do it for all 8 of them. So I might speed this up when I post it, or not. I don't know. It's just a painstaking little process. That's why it takes. I guess it gives me pride to make it at the end and have it perfect. But probably not gonna be proud of this one because it's not gonna be perfect. Eesh. So that's 4. And as you get more and more leaving them curled, there's less and less space to do it with. It's like so cramped, you might get a little annoyed with this part. I should do. And that's why it comes out a little wonky sometimes. And I'm using wonky a lot because I've been watching Harry Potter and shit. Okay. So, or not wonky. Alright, so all 8 of them are done. And they look nothing like in the Instagram picture because they look awful. They are crooked. As you can see, the folds those folds did not even up, so it's not all nice and even. And now we're gonna reverse these petals back up to the the previous things. Now there's no points, so that's why we did it beforehand. So by reversing them, we have this thing almost done. And now we're just gonna pretty much do the same thing like reverse squared or Link's Lily. Although we're gonna grab very little of it. Like to flip it, we're just gonna do like maybe a quarter of it, like so it doesn't interfere with the structure on in the center. So when you're flipping it, just like fold over like a quarter of it, quarter of the angle inside of this. Like Link's Lily had a third, this is gonna be just a little quarter. so, and at the end you can see it's kind of like pinching it even. It's not, does not want to be so tightly. Yeah, so you can always like progress this fold a little more out so it doesn't do that as much. But anyways, so now we're just gonna do the same thing as reverse squared, just fold it back, roll it back, curl it back. And God, this looks awful. Because rushing makes pride look awful. But yeah, if you were to take your time, it'd probably look much nicer. And then, as usual, stem through the center and out the back. And that's a very, 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 very awful representation of pride. As such.